That's about as much as I care to go before I will probably get copyright stricken. Anyways, it's been, God, since March 14th since I've given an update to this thing of my own design, for my own purposes of recovery and passing the time. Anybody who has read or watched this, thanks for spending the time with me as I put myself back together. Um, I said this would be a daily thing. I still intend this to be, by and large. It's just I've been sick with food poisoning the past couple of days on top of the brain surgery. That is largely behind me, the food poisoning, not the brain surgery. I'm feeling better today, and certainly up to snuff in terms of. God, this chair is loud. Doing this as a video, I understand. It's 5:30. Stand that today's games have largely tipped off, but this was no small feat to jury rig, and what was, oh yeah, it'll be a 20-minute setup, it turned into an hour and change, and wouldn't you know, I used basically all my brain power, so if I start to stumble or go blank on words, sorry. It's funny how in my state there's like a finite amount before you have to eat or sleep, like a video game, before you can do something again. That's it. Let's take a look at the standings. Like I said, it's been about 4 days since I checked in last on, with anybody who spends time viewing this, but I have been vigilant in terms of wasting my time watching the NBA, and much has changed. Much has changed. Let me turn that down. There we go. The Nuggets and Timberwolves have found themselves an identity. The return of Rudy Gobert to the Timberwolves starting lineup has brought an contender level elite defense by him just being there and being 7 feet tall. The Stifle Tower is in full effect. The Grizzlies are playing, as we said at the top, playing basketball, and they are a strong 5 seed. They were a 2 seed, but that has been taken by the Houston Rockets, who, if the Memphis Grizzlies are stabilizing, they are on a tear. And like their name implies, they are rocketing back up the standings from the 4 seed to the 2 seed, even without star forward Amen Thompson, who rolled his ankle something fierce. Yeah, they won an overtime thriller yesterday against the Philadelphia 76ers. Yesterday was weird. Let's see. Give you a quick foray into Rocket Land to show just what they've been up to and why they are worth taking a look at if you are a League Pass subscriber. Or, oh, there we go. For the month of March. There we go. So they're on a skid. They lose 137, 128, 115, 102. They beat the Pelicans around the 6th. They beat the Pelicans again. They beat the Magic. They beat the Suns. They beat the Mavericks. They beat the Bulls. They beat the 76ers. So they've made up ground on what one would argue are bad teams, but they have all the same. Looking ahead to, this is all catching up in the past 4 days and getting caught up with like what happened the past few days. Which, what really matters is where we stand, i.e. the standings. So, in the Western Conference, because that's where our attention was, the Oklahoma City Thunder have clinched a playoff spot. They are currently 56-12. That is 56 wins and 12 losses. They have an 82% win percentage for the nerds out there. They are far and away the 1 seed. They got it. Then starts the traffic jam. For as much as Houston has like surged in the past 3 weeks or so, they're still in a basically two-way tie for the 2 seed with the Denver Nuggets, who were undermanned and still managed to bend my favorite team, the Warriors, over last night, who decided to not show up for whatever reason. Right behind them is the Los Angeles Lakers, who look stellar. Now they've got their only conceivable like form whisper of a center back in the lineup in Jackson Hayes. Luka Doncic is looking like himself again. LeBron James is still 1 to 2 weeks out, but they have stabilized after a brief dip into a 5-game skid where they were looking understandably rough. I'm getting a phone call. The Memphis Grizzlies are the 5 seed at 43 and 26. The Warriors are locked in a battle to the death with the Minnesota Timberwolves for the last guaranteed playoff spot. That is the 6th seed. They both win on the same day and they both lose on the same day, i.e. they were both on 6-game win streaks that, or 7-game win streaks that ended last night. The Timberwolves lost an overtime thriller to the Indiana Pacers. Do we have any footage from that game? Let's find out. Oh yeah, let's find out. There's a reason why I took the time to do this. Highlights. Fin de siècle Polyvus. Why are we in a different language? What? Sure. Yeah, sure, we'll be in French. That's fine. Man. Ah, look at this in the head for Blue Chew, which is a Viagra type supplement. Boy, I should have YouTube open for this, shouldn't I? Okay. Anyways, going back. Suffice to say, Obi Toppin had 4 threes in the fourth quarter. It was insane. Despite them being down, Tyrese Halliburton, who is a star point guard, and somebody else, they beat the Minnesota Timberwolves in overtime. So, with that being before tip-off, one would think that the Warriors would be like, oh, here's our chance to separate ourselves a bit, but they decided to come out and lay an absolute egg against the undermanned Denver Nuggets, who were sitting their top 2 scorers, Nikola Jokic, who is the best basketball player alive, and Jamal Murray, who is their star point guard. Despite the fact that their top 2 offensive options were out of the lineup, the Warriors were flat, sloppy, tired, any adjective you could apply, and they came out and absolutely crapped the bed. They were never in control of the game. They cut the lead to 3 and 5 at separate occasions, but yeah, it was just one of those days. The Warriors have a habit of, even when they were like an unbeatable super team back in 2018, for occasionally dropping one to like a lesser team back, by like 20 points or so. Usually it was the Lakers at the time. As we get further into the dregs of the play-in tournament, for those of you who don't know what it is, the NBA has not guaranteed the last 2 spots since the 2020-2021 season, meaning that the 7 through 10 seeds duke it out for the right to claim the 7 and 8 spots in the Western and Eastern Conference playoff picture specifically. Like I said, the Minnesota Timberwolves are right there with the 6-seed Warriors. If you're wondering why the Timberwolves have more wins but are a lower seed, it's because the Warriors, 1, have fewer losses and also hold the tiebreaker over the Timberwolves. Their season series is 3-1 Warriors. They placed 4 times. The Warriors won 3. So in the case of a tie, they will always end up this season ahead of them. The Clippers, despite a skid, have stabilized and are 38-30, within striking distance of the 7, therefore 6 seed. Below them, the Kings and Mavericks are fighting it out for the Mavericks are hardly fighting anything but like injury at this point. But the Kings and Mavericks are technically fighting it out for the 10 and 9 seeds, and the Suns are on the outside looking in. They're not injured. They're just bad, despite the talent they have on that team. Dave Dufour on the Athletic Daily podcast said, or it was him, or it was somebody on that show earlier, it made the point of no matter who's sitting out, i.e. the Nuggets, or on the other side of the spectrum, the Suns, and whoever they play, there are still they are still professional basketball players. There are 530 something of these jobs total, and there are talented people filling them all on the eastern side of the bracket. Feel free to skip all this if you just want like what's happening tonight. But here's the general update. The Cleveland Cavaliers are far and away the 1 seed. They're living a similar life to the Oklahoma City Thunder, 56 and 11. The Thunder, for instance, are 56 and 12. So they are close. They have an 8.36 winning percentage. Beneath them is the 2 seed Boston Celtics of 49-19, the last year champion and odds-on favorite to repeat this year. The repeating is difficult. The 3rd seed is the New York Knickerbockers at 43-24. These letters mean clinched, X, and postseason. Basically, they have clinched the 2nd seed. They've clinched the conference. They've clinched a spot in the postseason. Their records are too good, and the teams below them are too bad for them to not make the playoffs, so to speak. Below them are the Milwaukee Bucks and Indiana Pacers and Detroit Pistons, all fighting it out for the 4, 5, and 6 seed. As you can see, 38 wins apiece for all of them, and 29, 29, and 31 losses. The reason that some teams have played more or less games than others is due to the fires in LA in January kind of like messing with the whole schedule. So they had to delay some stuff and so forth. Into the play-in on the Eastern Conference side of the bracket, the Atlanta Hawks, kings of the play-in tournament, sit at the 7th seed, 32 and 36. They've been in the play-in, I think, every year since its inception. Yeah. Beneath them, the Orlando Magic, who, like the Dallas Mavericks, are on an absolute plummet. Though not as devastating as the Mavericks at all. The Magic still have their star player. They didn't trade him. And Paolo Banchero, who's putting up bad efficiency, huge scoring nights because he has to. Without their straw that stirs the drink, so to speak, Jalen Suggs, who is also their defensive point of attack, their person who defends the point of attack on offense. It's a lost cause. Beneath them are the Chicago Bulls and Miami Heat, who are also here. Okay, what's going on tonight? Like I said, the games have already tipped off. As we can see, there is, in fact, already one going on at the half, which is the Boston Celtics and the Brooklyn Nets. The Celtics are undermanned, being led tonight by Kristaps Porzingis, who currently sits at a 14-3, and Cameron Johnson is leading the Celtics, who sits at a 6-2. How do they have 49 still? Let's find out. Let's look at the box score. Good points. Okay. D'Angelo Russell is currently leading them with 11 points. You get good at reading his straight lines. Being a fan of the NBA, D'Angelo Russell, there he is. Former Timberwolf, Laker, and Warrior, and Net prior. When Laker before that. He was a Laker, then he was a Net, then he was a Timberwolf, then he was a Warrior, then he was a Laker, then he was a Net. He been around. Cam Thomas, DNP, he will miss the rest of the season. But as we can see, inactive players, the big ones here are Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum for the Boston Celtics. Brooklyn, it's a bunch of whoever's, and he was a Warrior, but it then turned into a salary dump, which he would be out for the season. Once it was decided he would be out for the season. Blah, blah, blah. Aside to that, we have the... No! Oh, God, I don't want to watch that. Sorry. Too many fans out there. The Hawks at Hornets. The Atlanta Hawks are comfortably comfortably have a lead over the Charlotte Hornets, 109-82. My speech therapist said, "Why don't you try talking slower for a while?" And I said, yeah. If you're looking for the premier matches tonight, despite last night's trouncing, the crown jewels, plural, would be the Bucks at the Golden State Warriors coming to Chase Center, which tips off on NBA TV and League Pass with local affiliates soon. Yeah, at 6 or at 5. Let's see. Preview. And the Cleveland Cavaliers at the LA Clippers, which is a 1 seed in the East versus 8 seed in the West matchup. But the Clippers have stabilized and are, led by James Harden and Kawhi Leonard. It seems like Kawhi is playing. Therefore, this should be worth watching. Yada yada. Ooh. Ooh. Okay. Norm Powell is back for the Clippers. That is why this is particularly interesting. Is Norm Powell will have to find his way back into the offense. He was having, what was seen as an all-star season prior to this. Yeah. Cool. I'm going to watch that. I'm going to have that second screening with the Warriors and Milwaukee game. Game details. Let's see. March 1st at 10 p.m. Eastern. That's 7 p.m. That's like an hour away. Yeah, so they tip off at the same time. So I will be having, personally, 2 screens going. The Warriors game on main because, that's... I get where I can. This is a Golden State Valkyries. This is a Golden State Valkyries sweatshirt, but the sentiment reigns the same. And the Clippers Cavs on a small second screen. Boy, this sure does feel like 20 odd minutes of rambling. But if you kept this far, if you kept watching this far, thanks. Here's a look at the playoff picture as it stands. We can look at the seedings all day, but here is what it looks like. Over here we have the western side, and over here we have the eastern side. As I said, there is a play-in tournament, through which the 7, 8, 9, and 10 seeds will have a mini fight to determine who is the 7 and 8 seed in the larger scope of things in the playoffs. Right now, the 7 and 8 seeds would be the favorites to get in as the 7 and 8 seeds. They're the Timberwolves and the Clippers. It could very well be the Warriors, who currently have a 39-29 record, and as stated earlier, the tiebreaker over the Wolves. They play, essentially the 9 and 10 seeds will play each other. The winner of that game will go on to face the loser of the 7 and 8 matchup, and the winner of that will be the 8 seed and go on to face the Thunder, which they will be promptly dismissed from the playoffs. And the winner of the 7-8 game will go on to face the Rockets. If it's the Timberwolves, if it's either team here, that's really interesting. If it's the Warriors, yikes. I feel afraid for us because they're young and athletic, and they'll probably have Amen Thompson back by that point. That said, I don't like this matchup now, the 6-3 between the Warriors and Nuggets, because they have... To say they have the tiebreaker would be an understatement. They've beat us 9 times in a row. It goes to show, as much as playoff positioning is about seeding, and the top half of the 1-8 gets home court advantage, 1-4 essentially gets home court advantage against a lower seed, it's as much as anything about matchups. The Warriors, for example, match up apparently well against the Thunder. I don't think they win a full series, but they match up well. They match up well against the Grizzlies. They match up okay against the Rockets, in my opinion. They match up kind of poorly against the Lakers, really poorly against the Nuggets. And, you get weird stuff in the East as well, like the Magic, for some reason, have the Cavs number, so if they make it through the play-in as the 8th seed, they go on to face the Cavs, and they won a series that was a 4-5 series last year, and was a rock fight, which I watched 0 minutes of. Right now, the 4 and 5 Pacers kind of have each other's numbers. The Knicks and Pistons would be a very interesting series, And for example, if it was the Hawks with the 7th seed, the Hawks and Celtics was an interesting series last year that went to 6 in the first round, which would probably end, the same way again, maybe in 5 games, but would still be, something. Yeah, it's getting interesting. For as much as I've been doing, it's interesting. Because, it's playing basketball. Yeah. You know what? I'm done. I'll add highlights. Shut up! I'll come back later with highlights on another day. I did enough today. For anyone who is watching this who's like, yeah, this is all interesting, I guess, but how are you? I'm fine. I'm doing this to dissociate. This keeps this, along with PT and OT and speech therapy, keeps the specter at bay, so to speak, while we figure out what exactly is going on. And yeah, looking for the hang up button. There it is. Thanks for watching.